Welcome everyone to June Gestalt featuring Rhoda Thomas. Thank you all for being here today with June Gestalt. We are blessed to have each other for good company today. This is a safe space. We are here to speak out and to listen. With everything happening in the world, I believe we are in a multiplicity of culture and resource wars. We have a path of truth, love, and light to guide our steps on these tenuous paths toward true equality, freedom, and saving the planet. There is so much outspoken hatred that it's time for love and light to speak up. With that, I say with great delight that our feature today is Rhoda Thomas. I'm also excited to say that Clive Oseman, who is also here, is our July feature poet. So please stay tuned. Please visit my website at www.amyhoskins.com. In the contact section, you can sign up for my newsletter, and in the writing section, see upcoming events and publications. Now, without further ado, I'm thrilled to introduce Rhoda Thomas to you. Rhoda Thomas's searing, compassionate poems gleam like a long, buried spear emerging from the earth. I would always want Rhoda's brave, powerful voice on my side. Nicola Field, writer and activist. Rhoda grew up in Southeast London and has lived in Wales, UK since 1981. Rhoda's working background has been in the training of social workers, doctors, and counselors, and much of her creative work is infused with the exploration of emotional, interpersonal, institutional, and political life. There's a long bio there. I tried to copy it in there, but without further ado, welcome Rhoda Thomas.
Thank you so much. It was really lovely to have been invited. And it's probably, I think it's worth saying that you asked me to do this feature. You did your so organized. You asked me, I think, nearly 18 months ago. So I've been kind of waiting for this to come up for so long. And in a way, you know, there's a lot of pressure, sort of thinking, my God, I've waited 18 months. What am I going to read? But actually, there has been so much going on politically that is clearly got to shape what I say tonight. And, you know, I mean, I haven't written that much new over the last year or so for all sorts of emotional and health and political reasons, I think, that often made me feel frightened or paralyzed or whatever. But, you know, we have had the invasion of, you know, the war exploding in Ukraine. We've had mass shootings in America. We've had, I mean, climate change was already on our agenda. And in Britain, we've got a cost of living crisis, and we've got a rail strike that certainly Tim, who's here as well, my partner, and I have been on pickets all week with the rail strike in Britain. And that's going to be supported by baggage handlers at airports, postal workers, teachers, railway drivers, nurses and doctors. You know, they're all planning strikes in the next few weeks. So a great deal of upheaval for us. And then on top of that, you know, yesterday's absolutely devastating news about Roe versus Wade in America. And really, I mean, I spent last night, some of you know Tish and Dane, you know, Tish immediately set up an open forum, and some of us were on there talking about that through the evening. And, you know, to be honest, I've just been so overwhelmed by that, you know, that has kind of shaped a bit today. And I thought, well, what is our role as poets? You know, what's my role as a poet and as a poet activist? And, you know, one of the things, you know, some of you know, I write some searing poems about women's lives and so on. I thought, well, actually, I don't really want to go there. I mean, maybe some of you will tonight, that's fine. But for me, I feel the need to sort of bring not necessarily my best poems, but the poems that are upbeat about fighting back, about resistance to this, and about not taking in all the fear and the hatred and so on that I think this is meant to engender. And when I'm thinking about what is this about, I think, which includes the sort of attacks on ordinary working people in Britain and no doubt in many countries, and the horrendous things done to women all over the globe, whether that's, you know, I mean, one of my poems, you know, this, in the recent months, some of you will have heard, is, you know, about the predators on all the women and children getting out of Ukraine. I mean, men are not allowed to leave, so most of the refugees are women and children, and then predators for sex trafficking and so on are preying on them and so on. You know, all of that. So I wanted to, pick poems that really, challenged. And I suppose what I wanted to say was that one of the ways I try to analyze what's happening is that these are ways of dividing people, black and white. We saw with the Black Lives Matter and the way in which the state attacks black people. And this divides men and women. It divides people who perhaps might not be always so divided about abortion and so on, but this is really going to ramp up, people's ideas about reproduction and set neighbours against neighbours and so on. And the more they can distract from the poverty and the climate change, etc., the more they can set us against each other, that allows, profit and the greed and the milking of the system to carry on and so on. So that sets out my stall. So this is a poem I wrote, I don't know, 2018 actually, but I think it's relevant. How can I find peace? How can I find peace when so many people across the globe are living lives on the edge of a precipice? How can I enjoy a sunny day when hurricanes and floods are so pernicious and it's the poor who will have to pay? How can I rest in the company of others while the police are told to be rough and vicious to people who are my sisters and brothers? How can I sleep at night in bed when dozens burned in a tower to protect business interests? Safeguards were shed. How can I go dancing with the wind in my hair, knowing women and children are bullied and hurt and trafficked for sex, a living nightmare? How can I sit on a swing couch or do some gardening while facing the spectre of nuclear war? Capitalism's last resort. Diplomacy tried, but attitudes hardening. How can I ignore the need to fight? To stop the catalogue of atrocity, defeat cruel actions so they have no bite. Resistance now a necessity against apathy and our acquiescence. Now is the time for solidarity. There's no choice but to struggle for peace, to put an end to exploitation so that hostilities and disasters cease. There's no choice but to work for peace, to challenge corruption and greed and bring down the neoliberal edifice. So that, I wrote that 4 years ago. Things have worsened. And another thing that we fought this week, is someone who was randomly, picked up by the police earlier in the week in Swansea and taken to a deportation, place in Kent. And because of action and solidarity, we managed to get him released from that. Doesn't mean he'll never be deported, but it's, that is happening, that randomness. So that was that one. Some of you will have heard my poem Cinderella before, but I think I'll read that one. It's about, what do we ask for? I went to the dance on a rare night out, and you picked me out of the crowd. How? You showed me the floodlit fountains, the fairy lights in the trees, the fireworks in the sky, and I'd have missed them all without you. I went home in a pumpkin chariot, my glorious dress dissolving effortlessly into rags and my shoe missing. By day, I went down on my knees. The stains of muddy feet, crumbled earth, dripped juices had to be erased before anyone found them. Beds stripped, baths scoured, blinds scrubbed, bed bugs, blood, fleas, dust, grease, pastry crumbs, coffee spills, cat fur, finger marks, fungi, all had to be eradicated. My prayers for deliverance reached the ears of foxgloves and the feathers of ferns. And by night, alone in my turret room, the birds come and keep me company. I speak to the field mice and the friendly rat. I know how to make a bread and butter pudding from old dried bread and 1 egg. I know how to mince meat and to make soup from bones. I went to the dance on a rare night out, and you picked me out of the crowd. Why? You showed me people eating poppy cake, the pretty boats in the harbour, the peonies on the balcony. And the morning after, I filled baskets with crumbs, bed bugs, fungi and fur, and I took them to the poor, who turned them into loaves and linen, medicines and warm coats. So You come with the size 4 stiletto and the ugly sisters try to hoodwink you. But you know what's genuine and who's on the make. And you hold firm till I'm brought before you. So what are you asking? One, no decoration. And you think to woo me. Well, here are my conditions. I want a warm coat. I want warm, fresh bread, not your fountains and poppy cakes. I want warm coats and fresh bread for all. That's that one. And yeah. Another thing, I mean, as you say, Amy, you know, things are coming at us from all over. Last year, you know, there was a horrific murder of a woman by I think a policeman, a member of the Metropolitan Police in London, and he, you know, picked up Sarah Everard and, you know, did terrible things to her and murdered her. And it opened an avalanche of you know, our awareness of you know, women at risk from violence, but also the lack of trust in the police and the intimidation of particularly black and poor women when they try to report rape or assaults and so on. And, you know, it's only about 1 or 3% ever get to conviction in Britain. I don't know what it is in America. So, and I went and spoke at a vigil for that in Swansea. So this one's called Women Rising. And we have a castle square where we have our meeting, you know, public vigils and rallies. The castle looked beautiful, even though it was in ruins. But, oh yes, sorry, one other bit. Another terrible case that happened, the police had photographed the bodies of 2 black women and shared that round a WhatsApp group and so on. The castle looked beautiful, even though it was in ruins. But even though the women might have looked beautiful, there was no good reason to photograph their dead bodies for a cheap laugh. And though the waterfall cascaded down the steps, splashing white into the pool below, it should have been stained red to remember them by. And even though they want evidence to be clear, it was not right to intimidate and interrogate women, especially black and poor women. And even though this night was heavy with rain and the listeners were drenched wet, she spoke of lifelong fear and how it was that the same fears were here now. And that even as she spoke, there was spiking going on in the clubs nearby, and slapping and groping and stalking and bruising and beating and strangling and unwanted sex and shouting and swearing and terrifying in flats and houses and businesses all over. And though plain clothes would have guaranteed nothing, there were police in uniform straining to hear what she had to say, watching from the vans, unrepentant, picking out the listening faces, shivering under umbrellas. But in every town, there were vigils and rallies just like this. And in Dublin, they won abortion rights. And in Glasgow, equal pay. And everywhere, women are rising for fairness, to be heard, believed, avenged. And afterwards, the candles went on flickering in the shadow of the castle, flames inside glass jars. And the women walked her back to her car because she was afraid and shouldn't have to be. So that was that one. And perhaps one more, I'm not sure how much time I've got left, but I'll read this one. There will come a time when all this will be a memory. My sitting here on a crimson sofa, surrounded by the books I've spent my life choosing. I'll remember the flutes and violins on the radio, the abacus on the windowsill, the residue of wine in the glass, and my belief that somehow I could write words for others, somehow summon up words that would mean something, just by sitting here, just by letting the music calm the jitters inside, just by consulting a dictionary and thesaurus, just by lifting my pen to the page. There will come a time when the things I'm afraid of may come to pass. So for now, I'll arm myself with the wisdom from others who went before and those who've gone ahead of me. But who am I to speak of others that I don't know? I'll never know the blazing heat of a steel furnace where men have burned to death, or the stench of a slaughterhouse and the wrenching horror of killing animals every day. I'll never know the tedium and stress of absorbing customer aggression of day after day in a call center, or the humiliating privations of living in a driver's long-haul cab and not seeing my loved ones for several months. And I'll never feel the exhausting physical demands of working in a distribution center and the toll on health, or the excruciating frustrations of a paramedic as patients die in ambulance queues waiting for hospital admission. So no, I can't speak for them. It's their voices that must shout out what they see and call out for what they want. But I can call to people everywhere to join the struggle. I can tell of their struggles. I can tell of the history of struggle. I can tell of the worldwide struggle. I can say what changes when everyone says no. I can say that every struggle is our struggle. The whole damn landscape of struggle against the abuse of power, the unfairness of it all, the wrongness of it all, and the damage of it all. And I can speak of those who rewild our land, save our insects, change our energy sources and reuse our waste. And I can thank those who go out in the wind and rain dispensing leaflets and newspapers to challenge division and hatred, to promote equality. I can tell of those who save our lives, who heal our trauma and help us bear dying. I can support workers who risk their livelihoods to strike for health and safety, who work ceaselessly to keep the world spinning, who hold the future of the world in their hands. There will come a time when the things I'm afraid of may not happen. There will come a time when the trajectory that we're set upon may be turned in a new direction. It is possible. And for now, I will imagine how things could be and tap into the wisdom of people who went before and those who go ahead of me. It's probably my time up, although I have many more I could read.
That was amazing and so powerful and detailed. The imagery, the passion, everything. I'm so inspired. I was inspired before, but now I'm even more on fire. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. So good. Well, we've got some people who are in different time zones. Is Pratibha Castle here? Okay. Joy. Joy Johnson.
Okay, yes, I'm here. Boy, woo, and I got to follow that. Thanks a lot. But it did remind me of a few things. So these are a few poems that I wrote in the last round of 40 Days, 40 Rights. That was, it was about writing fiction. And so I tried to write some poems that were very fictional, okay? And in reading back through these, this first one that I want to read, as of yesterday, has an entirely different feel to it. It's called Late. The prompt was late arrival. Okay. In that space of lateness, I began an elaborate fantasy of twins. Lying on the futon, looking at my legs, I felt inquisitive about the load they'd bear, about skin and how far it stretches, carrying responsibility in a way I felt never had I times gone by. Then began plans. I would move in with my mother because clearly I had no channel to do this on my own, would be needing help from kin and kith. Finally, she and I might find ground upon which we'd give a mutual damn. He'd be sorry if he ever knew anything about what I made, crew of me and mom and happy family. So there, even for now passivity. Next day though, don't you know that I was not late anymore. Today I thank God. You know, in the face of losing our abortion rights, or probably depending on what state you're in, that poem strikes me differently now than it did when I wrote it a few months ago, even before the leak happened. I am a person who has had a legal abortion, and I have absolutely no regret about it. And I'm very thankful to have had that choice while I was in graduate school, Anyway, so the next one is, I'm going to read this. It's about protests here in the States in 2020 about the George Floyd murder. And I'm reading it. It's exactly what you shouldn't do. Okay. Again, remember that these prompts were, write something fictional. Well, this is more or less my experience, but I wrote it from the point of view that I should not have written it from. So, I'd love it if you would listen to it as a piece of poetry, but also listen to it as an example of what you should never do, okay? And it's called Dogged. When George Floyd died, we met in the streets to protest pressure on his carotid. Weight I felt keenly in my black skin. That day with bullhorns, we were unseemly, disrupted the machinery of how downtown carried on. And so the cops came, rounding a corner, a sidewalk cafe, because COVID happened too. And one blue shirt came up on me, not for polite talk. I thought that fortune would be surviving his night of custody when old white dame inserted herself betwixt us and grabbed my hand. Her intransigent attitude eclipsed the uniforms, dragged me away, letting loose barbs through the mask on her face. The officer was thrown right off his game. Around the next bend, she let down her guard, said sorry for contact during disease as she dropped my hand as I stood free. So I did ask a African-American woman who's a friend of mine if this was appropriate for me to take that voice, and I got a pretty clear no from her. But but I thought, that maybe I could share it as a piece of poetry and also as a lesson for you guys. Let's see what else I've got. Okay, this one's a little bit more fun. It's called Apple Music. Keep in mind, please, these are works of fiction, okay? Apple Music somehow susses that I need a good hit of Yoko Ono tunes, which brings me back to that time I killed him. When he left me for the youth and uterus of another her, I tried to deal, wrote Yoko a letter, begged her pro bono advice. How did she survive mutinous Maypang years? But no reply, despite my evident calamity. So I did what I could, clobbered him in the head while we discussed the split and perambulated the woods on Monte Sano. Easy to roll him over the edge, followed by many leaves. The assassination I completed. It's easier now since I live without the terrible burden of a heart. I swear it's fiction, okay? I also want to acknowledge that the rhyme in the last couplet, I got straight out of somebody here. I stole it from somebody. Amy, who's the woman that does the visuals? I can't hear you.
Alexandra Sarapoliz.
There you go. Thank you,
Yes.
Rick.
Up in the bottom.
I stole the rhyme directly from you. Totally. You had it in one of your pieces that you did earlier, and I just fell in love with it. And to live without the terrible burden of a heart, without and heart. I was like, oh yeah, I got to use that. Let's see. Do you want to hear another one?
We need to go on because there's some people who are in late time zones.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sorry, what?
Oh gosh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can. What did you say?
Okay. I'm sorry. We've got to move on because we've
Okay.
got some people in late time zones.
Okay, no problem.
But that
Thank
was
you.
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
As always, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is Sierra Moulanier here? Sierra Moulanier? No? Okay. Mama is not here. Ian Preznansky.
Hello, hi Amy.
Hi,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, very well. Nice to be here again. Okay, I'm going to do one. It's titled Just a Kid. I did it a few weeks ago, but I did part one. I've now done part two to it. So I'm going to do parts one and parts two consecutively. There's a trigger warning there, so it references drugs, mental health, and some aspects of violence as well. Yeah, and I've tried to combine different styles here of writing and see if it works. So, okay, right, here we go. Your neurosis of warped disassociation, secluded within your own melancholic fear, confined to your claustrophobic mind by closing concrete walls as streetlights glare their silent scream. Snake eyes burn hostility through warped shadows of Stone Island hoodies. Beaten down, ground down, those words from razor blade tongues slash your soul. Bleeding self-confidence, leaking puddles of despair as you walk heavy with the tar of sadness weighing every limb. Your warrior mind, an echo of endless battles surrounding your soul in the dungeon of despair, yet your spark is there. Born through sleepless nights, your soul cries through nomadic eyes, morph into a gaze of 1,000 boxes. Fists block your way, yet you're the ducker and dive of a lonely street fighter, facing down that devil gaslight of your spark shines brighter. Your soul dry, just another brawl, you blaze through blood and bone. Yes, you made it home, still thirsty for connection, but none for tears, rage is your projection. Lying exhausted from hands conjured from ghosts of haunted memories, clawing your soul as you lie awake within twilight dreams. Awakened by your revolutionary spirit screaming against dark tides of endless days rooted inside sterile classrooms. Chained to a neoliberalist factory of smiling drones as you sit with the dispersed focus of a swarm of fireflies. Drowning inside the rising tide of judgmental indifference borne by subservient slaves to league tables. You have engulfed in dynamic harmony, fueled from collective disdain as their verbal blows rain. In conflict with an unwilling mind steadfastly refusing to breathe technicolor life into blackboard cipher codes. Yet tonight's stars smile their gentle glow, rippling solace through your soul. Tomorrow, seeking unity within the womb of the chemical community, hedonistic retinas spark solace with beautiful misfits, pepper wiglets, your neon dreams bundled in 20 milligrams, spilling strobes and holograms. Tuesday, three-dimensional memories, fresh as yesterday, scar your neural pathway, panics, game or foreplay. The smell of doomsday wafting from the stairway. Once again, it's rock against flame, a lick of smoke howls your nave. The crack pipe screams to deceive. Your brother transfixed, you grieve. He's lost, you leave. Sneak the weave through heartbreak time. Walking the line through another vodka bottle landmine. Smashed awake by love you won't disclaim. Lovers shout, battling echoes of blame. Now Thursday, it's past midnight. To the books you take the fights. Neurons fire, they ignite. Through your blaze of insight. The formerly smiles outright on the page in the moonlight. Monday, smashing demons, killed a sting, grasping peace in a sweat-stained ring. Your weaponized shin, fueled by multiple traumas with your steel chin. You have a freight train, climbed on liniment oil, then fired on adrenaline. Do you ride your renegade wave, battling sadness, for you'll never be its slave? Rippling shockwaves for your fight from the cradle to the grave. Your society's martyr, the collective pain burns you to the ground. You're the phoenix rising, heart open, trading love, it's all around. Delusions melt, your soul found as you rise higher off the ground. Your spirit bathed in compassion as you breathe. You are enough, the world is yours, my friend, believe. That's it, thank you very much.
Wow, that was brilliant wordcraft there. That was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's difficult to actually recite because I was running out of puff. So I was talking to Lesley about this a while ago about breath work and so on when you recite. But yeah, Thank you very
You
much.
have to keep breathing. Thank you. Now we have Alexandra Sarapoliz. Are you ready?
Okay. Can you see the graphics going by?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Beautiful.
Okay. Golden cords connecting us, golden cords surrounding us, like the sparkling sunlight on the blue sea, like the sparkling sun waves on the sea sand. Divine help, divine forces flowing in, our vibrations riding over the waves of life, bravely crossing all barriers. Singing a magnetizing melody on a hypnotizing journey, turning the dark into light, turning the wrong into right, knowing we can be free, knowing we are free, free from all negative energy, free from all negative experiences, golden cords connecting us, golden cords guiding us. Like glowing strands intertwining along our paths, like glowing strands showing us our paths. Divine help, divine forces flowing in, our vibrations, our energies, whirling, twirling, wings of the universe dancing freely between us, forming our world, forming the world around us. Turning the dark into light, turning the imbalanced into balanced, knowing we can be free, knowing we are free, free from all lower sexual desires, free from all lower sexual encounters, golden cords connecting us, golden cords attaching us, like two radiant flames dancing together, like two radiant soul flames flying together. Divine help, divine forces flowing in. Our vibrations allowing us free to choose our own experiences, our own perceptions, allowing us free to move on, leaving old energies behind. Trusting that everything will be renewed, trusting that everything is being renewed, turning the dark into light, turning the non-understandable into understandable, knowing we can be free, knowing we are free, free from all detrimental patterns, free from all detrimental beliefs. Golden cords connecting us, golden cords nurturing us, like a family wonderfully bonding, like butterflies fluttering in spring. Divine help, divine forces flowing in, our highest vibrations, our highest energies, whirling, twirling, drifting freely on the currents of the universe, transforming our world, transforming the world around us, turning the dark into light, turning the non-believing into believing, knowing we can be free, knowing we are free, free from all worry and struggle, free from all misconception and doubt. Golden cords connecting us, golden cords uniting us, like the sacred heart flame, like the sacred soul flame, into light, turning the unhealthy into healthy, knowing we can be healed, knowing we are healed, healed from all bitterness and pain, healed from all hopelessness and regret. Only golden chords connecting us, only golden chords inspiring us, expecting magic, expecting blessings, expecting flying. Thank you.
So beautiful, so transformative and inspiring, spiritual, just amazing as always. Thank you. Thank you so much. And the music is also brilliant. Thank you.
The guitarist is sorry without a vest because it's really hot. Grease.
Oh, welcome. Thank you.
Hello.
Mhm. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Next, we have Laura Grevel.
Okay, I'm here. Let me get this up. I'll be reading slightly longer one poem called The Warning. So this is dealing with the Anthropocene. Have you heard the guinea hens scream warning? They guard our porch when the intruder approaches, the herd dog who poaches, the neighbor who steals. The live oaks watch. The mesquite pricks ears. At the attack, at the blood of the kill, at the cut of the fence, the swill of the beasts. We tried to work in the old time that was the new time, but the new time didn't like goats and chickens plowing with horses. The new time was suspicious of a family giving up city, living with less, living Ludditish, living wrong, with manes and feathers to bolster hours and weathers to bolster blood and bed. So we became nomads, those who roam, who have no homes on their heads. Listen to the guinea hens scream warning. This nomad's African song settling in the crisp, dead grass of Texas. The dry heat, the lack of dew that is of man's labor. Anthropocene, part of the new 113 degrees September beat, long after antelope and panthers met their demise, the bison, the bears, the wolves, the woodpecker, and also the one who could have carried the message. Listen to the guinea hens scream warning. Over the death of their pigeon brother, ecosystem engineer for thousands of years, eaten, hunted, habitat eliminated, nomadic, dense flock living, architect that shaped wooded diversities, rich in fire cycles, weather, and bird. The live oak watched, the mesquite pricked ears, at the attack, the blood of the kill. Listen to the guinea hens shriek warning. As the world population moves forward, 7.9 billion who live in expanding city equations live in the new time that wants the new time that has forgotten an old time, that is suspicious of the complexity of simple ways, but that does still try to solve for pi. Supposedly a mathematical constant 3.14159 ... that 2,000 years later is still being calculated. Ratio of circles, circumlocution to the crossing. Listen to the guinea hens shriek warning. They're come back, come back, come back, chee 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 chee. Alert at catastrophe, an ear-splitting cacophony that is as irrational as the irrational pi, whose decimal decision never ends, never settles into a repeat, is a perfect randomness. Listen to the guinea hen's shriek warning, their endless chee, a pie that is itself transcendent, impossible to solve the riddle, though Archimedes did with arbitrary accuracy, and further human calculus approached the never-ending motion of pi. Why, pi remains a foundation of trig and geometry, of the physics of life, the matter and energy, the us, the chi, of all we have done on earth, of all we could do. Listen from this porch. Hear the guinea hen's shriek warning. Could we, come back, in an irrational cacophony of nomadic glee, to cross the diameter to meet the circle on its return.
So brilliant. Thank you. That was so well done and moving and awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Laura. Is Catalina George here? Eddie Foreman? No. Tim Evans? Still here? Yay.
Okay, can you?
Welcome.
Yeah, hi. It's good to see people. There's quite a lot of you that I haven't seen recently. I suppose I've been sort of less in to Zoom. I've been zoomed out, really, to be honest, over the last 2 years. But it's really good to be here tonight. As Rhoda said, we've had a sort of a bit of a roller coaster of a week down here in Swansea. We had the inspiration of the RMT picket lines. Then we had our friend whisked off the streets by the immigration service and taken to be flown out. We immediately put on a big campaign. He was released, brought back to Swansea. We were really pleased about that. And then last night we got the news from the States over the Roe v. Wade. Well, I won't speak about it. I can't believe it, really. But anyway, so I've got it's also just over 5 years since a tower block in London burnt down, and still nobody is in prison. Still nobody has been charged with that. In 2017, 72 deaths and 70 injuries. And this one, it's based really upon an old rhyme, Who Killed Cock Robin? People also may be aware of a Bob Dylan song called Who Killed Davey Moore, which was about a boxer who gets killed in the ring. And of course, nobody wants to admit that it was their fault. And it was the same, it's been the same over Grenfell. So it's called Who Killed Grenfell? Who was it killed the people of Grenfell? Who put their lives in deadly peril? Very well, I'll resign, said Paget Brown. I should say the names of some of these people are the people who were responsible, but who didn't take responsibility. Very well, I'll resign, said Paget Brown. But it wasn't me who put them down. I didn't give them the runaround. I didn't want them out of town. Their deaths aren't down to my account. No, I didn't kill the people of Grenfell. Who was it killed the people of Grenfell? Who put their lives at deadly peril? Not us, said the leaders of the TMO. It shouldn't be us that have to go. We listened, we really listened, you know. We've dealt with their complaints like the seasoned pros we are, and that our salaries show. No, we didn't kill the people of Grenfell. Who was it killed the people of Grenfell? who put their lives at deadly peril. Not me, said Housing Minister Barwell. I was always 100% impartial. My door was always wide open as normal. We had endless meetings, minuted and formal. My interests were in no way commercial. No, I didn't kill the people of Grenfell. Who was it who killed the people of Grenfell and put their lives at deadly peril? Not us, said the 72 Tory MPs. We never voted down that amendment, you see, to make rented properties safe and clean. And while we were all landlords, as it seems, we didn't kill the people of Grenfell. Who was it killed the people of Grenfell and put their lives at deadly peril? It wasn't me, said Boris Johnson. I closed 10 fire stations? That's just nonsense. The Knightsbridge one was of special importance, just next to Grenfell, by all the evidence. Thank God I don't have that on my conscience. No, I didn't kill the people of Grenfell. Who was it killed the people of Grenfell and put their lives at deadly peril? Not us, said the British government. You can't threaten any of us with imprisonment. A bonfire of regulations. That was our sentiment. Health and safety just filled us with merriment. For business and profits, there must be no impediment. No, we didn't kill the people of Grenfell. We didn't kill the people of Grenfell. We didn't kill the people of Grenfell. Thank you. Have we got time for another one? Or are we? Yeah, okay. Okay, this one is just I wrote it a few years ago, but it's still relevant. And it's relevant to the governments of Britain, and it's relevant to the government of America. And it's called Stand Aside. These are not normal times. This is not business as usual. It's not a time for nursery rhymes, protocols, or worn-out rituals. The world is hungry for other things, things that you can never offer. Water from the mountain springs, wealth within a common coffer. Your jeering future insults our lives, obscuring memories of the sun. If we wish just to survive, we must undo what you have done. So stand aside. You stink of corruption. Your time has come. Now it has gone. The only politics worth a damn protects the poor from the strong. The only politics worth a damn is not aimed at the distressed, but stands with the workers and the poor and fights for the hungry and oppressed. The only politics worth a damn will make the walls of the city shake and turn the old world upside down. For what power builds, the street unmakes. Thank you, guys. That's thanks for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very political, moving, wonderful words. And I love we have to fix what you have done. I can't remember the words exactly, but that was just wonderful. Very moving. Thank you. Do we have Dax Shitoto? Dax Shitoto. I don't think so. Deborah Burris-Kitchen.
Yes, I'm here.
Wonderful.
I just
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to pull up my poem real quick. Okay, I'm going to read two, if that's okay. They're pretty short. I mean, they're not very long at all, but one's called A Seat at the Table, and I'll just make sure it's okay after I read this one to read the second one. If I had a seat at the table, I would call him out for who he is, a misogynistic, narcissistic pig. He gets off watching people bleed. He is taking everything he can by exploiting those he has demonized and left powerless through his repressive laws, bullying them with his soldiers dressed in blues and fatigues. Let the petty bourgeoisie do his dirty little deeds, legitimizing his right to your fortune while taking away other people's rights to breathe. You are afraid to invite me to the table because I would force you to see that your hatred of others makes you ugly indeed. Hate on science, people of color, women, and the poor. But if I get a seat at the table, I will demand your full attention and force you to see that your ugliness will not break me, nor will your greed. I want a seat at the table, but you would never listen to me if I had one. You can only hear your own voices that spews out lies. All who disagree with you, you dismiss and chastise. What makes you think you are such a prize? Name calling is the weapon of the uneducated. Yes, we know who you are. The thought that you are formally educated is just bizarre. You continuously try to justify your position of power, but the more you speak, your ability diminishes by the hour. I want a seat at the table, but that greedy bastard took my chair because he knows he is a fraud and he will have to concede that the way things are going, he can't succeed. He is going down, just you wait and see. Give me a seat at the head of the table so I can watch him bleed. But an invite I will never receive because those seats are reserved for people who have the nerve to violate people's human rights. I will not stand for that, not ever, especially not tonight. Wait, I think I will join him for dinner tonight, even without an invite. I will sit at the head of the table and start the fight. What are we having for dinner? Justice for all, and it begins tonight. And if you don't mind, I'll read one more just because it was kind of fitting for tonight. It's called Climate Change. I appreciate it. Thank you. You are so hot, you make liquid reach its boiling point, distorting my view with your rising steam. Your heat burns me like the hot sun in a clear sky, beating down on me your humidity high. SPF 50 cannot protect me from your cancerous rays. I still have scars from where your boiling water burnt my face, but still I stay. You are so cold, you turn water into a glacial mass, but one soft spot you left open for me to fall through, knowing I would follow you. You led me to that place, quietly watching me gasp for air, hoping I would never escape, quivering with anticipation that I will forever be gone, standing above me on the ice, watching me beg, but still I stay. Your winds are gentle and soft like the ocean breeze. You give me relief from the heat of the day, make me let down my guard as if I am safe. But then your winds pick up as your clouds turn dark gray. You hit me with the force of a hurricane. All I own caved in on me as I sheltered in place, but still I stay. I know I must leave if I am to maintain my sanity. I know I must leave to protect what little I have left of me. I know I must go if I am ever to be free. I know I must leave to shed your definition of me. I know I must leave to find out who I am and who I am meant to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Powerful. Wonderful. Thank you. Dave Clinch, still here?
Yeah, hello there.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting or giving me a slot. I asked you, didn't I? Thank
Sure.
you.
No worries.
Okay, I'm going to start. Today is the 75th anniversary of the publication of Anne Frank's diary, the expurgated version, I might add, the unexpurgated version, which is a bit of a hoot at times because she was very funny in some of the things that she talked about, which her father didn't like her to talk about. So they got, yeah, so this is about Anne. And I wrote this poem after seeing a film about a documentary about a woman called Miep Gies, who died at the age of 100, and it was on her 100th anniversary or around that time, that they were celebrating her life. And she was a person who, throughout the time, the Frank family and others were hiding, she was risking her life to bring them food and other help. But here we go. I wrote it some years ago. Meep, a woman of courage. Each visit brings new life. Each day you carry us hope. We wait in silent stillness for night and nourishment. Each day brings new danger, each new fear of watching eyes. You return to hidden rooms with news of life outside. Each freezing, numbing thought, each new dread of what is done. You walk a swaying tightrope to reach to us inside. Each time the sound below, each deadly breath we must hold. You return with life itself to raise our spirits high. Today the soldiers came. Today we will go to die. You are pleading for our lives. They cast your pleas aside. Now you are 100. Now your courage still overwhelms. Humanity exudes from you. We must carry the past to understand, to know. Never again, never. If I've got time for a quick second one, may I do this? There's a link here because Anne Frank wanted to be a journalist. That was probably her writing betrays that as well, very much so, I think. But there was another journalist called Shireen Abu Akleh who was murdered on the 11th of May this year. And I've written a poem in the form of a villanelle. And I've realized that when you write a poem, I always thought writing a poem, you kind of go in sequence in your mind of what you're thinking. But with a villanelle, because of the process, the structure, you have to keep going back to the first and third lines all the time. And it makes it produces stuff that you don't realize you were going to write, I think, anyway. So here we go. I haven't explained that very well. It's called For Shireen Abu Akleh, 3rd of January 1971 to the 11th of May 2022. The unbelievable circumstances of the killing. The unbelievable circumstances of the killing flow blood red through my mind. Consider the cool premeditation of the willing. The voice of Palestine lies dying, a bullet in the neck of her kind. The unbelievable circumstances of the killing. Israel blames the victim, lying, imagining the whole world is blind. Consider the cool premeditation of the willing. The execution has been so chilling, of the eyes and voice of truth combined, the unbelievable circumstances of the killing. Violent sacrilege against the dead fulfilling, the barbarism of the occupation defined. Consider the cool premeditation of the willing. Her memory will lie residing inside each opponent Israel finds. The unbelievable circumstances of the killing. Consider the cool premeditation of the willing. Free, free Palestine. Thank you.
I'm speechless. That was wonderful and so powerful. Thank you for speaking up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Heather Booker? Welcome.
Hi, Nashville.
Hi.
Greetings from Wales.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you for this slot. Been on a picket line today. Railway workers and climate activists and men and women and lots of banners from different organizations. And I think maybe there's a bit of a theme developing in this evening's poetry of togetherness. So I didn't write that. I wrote this particularly for Nashville. When I heard I was going to be part of something happening in Nashville, I was like, wow, Nashville. And I'd recently been watching documentaries about the history of country music, of folk music, country and Western music. And until the advent of Rock Against Racism, I just didn't see black and white musicians playing together. I don't think anybody did. And I thought that was kind of just how it was, you know. And then I found out that it was actually policy. It was actually policy of big business that black musicians play one kind of music and white musicians play another. But at the beginning, people played together. And a lot of country and Western stars were, of course, black and lots of different ethnicities all mixed in there, as it should be. Anyway, so I wrote this poem, and it was inspired by a documentary about country and Western. So I hope it's okay. It's a bit of a work in progress. Okay, together. A rainbow grew in Nashville, a rainbow of sound. It arches across the world and circles it around. Ireland brought the violin, Europe the guitar, and who knew the mighty banjo had its roots in Africa. A flower grew in Nashville, bright as a fallen star. Leaves and petals from all the world come to America. Music of every color and every emotion too. Out of differences and impossibility, the mighty flower grew. A bloom of rhythm and of rhyme, the songs and stories of us all humanity together. But some said, that's too tall, so they ripped the rainbow and the flower, tore the colors far apart, put the colors into separate worlds, but they forgot the human heart. It beats with the rhythms of the world and has its roots in Africa, holds our music, love and passion, and makes every one of us a star. Music belongs together the way that people do in our multicultural, multicolored rainbow of every shade and hue, with passion at its head and rhythm in its soul. Of course, they had a baby, you might have heard, and called it rock and roll, with younger brother gospel and elder sister jazz. Music is for everyone, and everybody has a place within the choir, a part to play on stage. Only together can we make the music to tear the locks from off the cage. The circle must not be broken. Its arms are safe and strong, enough to build a world where all of us belong. Too many names to mention. My minutes here are few. Magnificent musicians. I'll just give you two. I wanted to dedicate it to Deford Bailey because of his story. I haven't got time to talk about that, but here he is. Deford Bailey on the radio rocked the world with his harmonica. His fans couldn't see and didn't know a black man was their star. And an angel who was black and gay swapped her guitar for her harp just to bring us rock and roll. Angel sister Rosetta Tharpe. Every rainbow is part of a circle that loops around the earth. That circle must not be broken by those who do not know its worth, those who do not value anything unless it can be sold, who don't value the rainbow or the earth, only pots of gold. A rainbow arches over Nashville. It is multicolored still. Some they try to tear it. We must make sure they never will. Thanks.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
No,
It reminds me of, I heard Toots and the Maytals did a version of We Shall Overcome. I posted it today.
Yes.
I love
thank you.
song.
That is a compliment. Yes, it's a fantastic song, isn't it?
It is. Thank you for bringing that to us. It was joyous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Clive Oseman. Yeah.
That would be me then.
Yes.
Okay, right. I've got nothing political or topical to do tonight. I think in the case of one thing in particular, your body, your choice says it much better than I could. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm not doing comedy tonight. I promise to be back to comedy for my sec next month. But this is new, and I haven't tried it yet because I only wrote it this afternoon. So it's a bit of a first draft. I've read it through and practiced it a couple of times. I know there's going to be a few changes to it. But anyway, it's new, and I'm not going to tell you the title because that will become evident. I feel like I'm on a train, not knowing where I'm going or even where I've come from. But the distance between those stations is too huge to comprehend. And though the journey has to end, I'm not sure I will ever send the right signals to be accepted, to blend in and find contentment. I just don't understand people, what they want from life, what they want from me. Am I actually going anywhere? Because right now, I feel the train has stopped. Maybe the driver has died at the wheel or just walked into the sunset and liquidised. Ah, that's it. This is one of my dreams, isn't it? These passengers, they're just ghosts with no one to haunt. Tortured souls just looking at me, the stranger in their midst who never quite died but joined them on their journey in the hope of finding something better. I'm frightened now.
You could go back.
I don't want to go back. I was driven here by fear. The fear that my past was also my future. I wanted someone to hear me, reassure me. That's all I ask. It's going dark. It's going dark now.
It's a dream. It's just a dream.
I have to escape somehow. I didn't want to meet you again. I hope you know I never cried when you died. You destroyed me. You stopped me being. I'm still what you made me. Where's the apology? Fucking speak to me, you coward!
It's a dream. It's just a dream.
Everyone, whoever hurt me is here, alive or dead. They don't want to make amends. They want to drag up memories. I'm sweating now.
It's
What's that?
Dream. It's just a dream.
Oh, fuck the pain. Oh, it's real. Oh.
No, it isn't. You're a liar.
Please stop it.
You're not in pain. It's a problem.
Stop it! Stop it! Fucking stop it! Oh. 3:09. Shit. Don't close your eyes. You'll fall back into that dream. Don't close your eyes. Don't close your eyes. Don't. So there it is. Sometimes I barely sleep at all, and other times just see me fall into a mixture of a troubled past and the loneliness of nights that last forever in my mind as it again rewinds the same old themes, repeats the same bad dreams which are only interrupted by the pain. Sometimes it does feel like a train that never stops to let me off, but goes up and down the same old track repeatedly and endlessly. I want it to stop. I want to walk. I want to find my feet before it's all too late and I have failed. I need this thing to be derailed. Thank you.
Brilliant. Oh my gosh. Wonderful dramatic performance as well. Just wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you. And looking forward to your feature.
Me too.
Thank you.
Back to normal for the feature. And that's a threat.
All right. Got Mannay or Mannay. Did I say it right?
Yeah, Des is fine.
Des, good. Welcome.
Well, first time at this one. Right, I think I'll probably do about two, if that's okay.
That's good.
The first one will be in horror of what has happened in the States recently with the overturning of Roe versus Wade. This is something I wrote some time ago because we used to have in Cardiff, there used to be once a year until they were persuaded to leave by much larger bunches of counter-protesters, an anti-abortion group called 40 Days for Life. And this is something I wrote for them. It's called 40 Days for Lies. So it's a sort of ode to the odious, if you like. And it goes something like this. And bigotry reigned for 40 days and 40 nights outside a clinic where women sought advice to make a tough decision they'll live with all their life. Then 40 days for lies turn up and add to all the strife. Some reasons for abortion are abuse, violence, and rape. Then some Bible-bashing nutter shouts you're making a mistake and tries to claim abortion is another Holocaust, an argument in which all proportion is lost. And then the tiny throng bleat out hymns like braying sheep and talk to God the Master with eyes closed like they're asleep. They argue every baby's a part of God's special plan. Is that the when we're all perish like a Kentucky fried human? So if a complete stranger shafts you with his rod and you end up pregnant, well, it's just an act of God. I know I sound quite drippy. I know I'll be reviled, but I just happen to think each child should be a wanted child. I have some lovely children. I wouldn't give up one, but that's a decision I came to with their mum. Our rights have been hard fought for. We can't afford to lose a very basic concept, a woman's right to choose. Thank you.
Wow.
The next one is going to be from my book. It's one that I don't normally read, so it's a more optimistic one. It's called Just Walking, which ironically I wrote after just walking in the early hours of the morning. Goes something like this. Taking in the night air, waiting for the nightmare, or will it be a dream? Walking past the old factory, which sprues out its pollution. Along the riverbank, where dossers and tramps sleep, there's no natural route from the brewery to the drunk. Their own ruined lives, embers of a dying flame which once lit their bodies with life. And the river carries the past to the present. And the city holds a million untold stories locked behind closed doors, which sometimes break out into the streets, liberated, all seen. Journalists rewrite them, tabloid diamond sleazers into victims or animals which deserve no pity. The type behind the typeface forgotten, their lives carry on, just like the river to the sea. Negotiating the Taff's rocks and whirlpools. Cars drive through the nighttime's ghost roads. Hours ago, the town would breathe out people. Now darkness draws its breath and tucks them in. A time to clear the mind of countless thoughts gathered through the day. We live inside this prison. Invisible bars prevent us breaking free. Only late night thoughts pass easily between them. Tear away the chains with bind my tongue and wrap the blindfold and let me walk the pavements of the truth. The distraught are not the vanquished or masters of their destiny. We cannot clean the city streets by scraping them till they shine with our skin. The selfish cut to the bone for the banquet of the unknown glutton. Surely there's a better way of living. I know this is true. The river told me so as it carried the past to the present, like the river to the sea, and I waited for the nightmare. And this time it will be a dream. Thank you.
So moving and so well crafted. Powerful. Thank you so much, Tess. Thank you. Richard Spisak.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Welcome.
You have so many fine poets here. It's such an honor to present a little bit of material. And I try in my own little way to have people think and laugh. So I hope I have a little success. First, a little bit of anger. It's called They're Breaking Up the Furniture of Democracy. They want a bonfire in the lobby. They'll be sorry when it's gone. Would they at some later date shrug at the burn hole in the rug and shrug it off as fate? Cassandra sang her lonely song. They turned off her phone, so it faded when they raided. They decided to do it with a riot, violence, their steady diet. They didn't care if it was wrong. Democracy was weak. They were strong. Besides, they couldn't keep quiet that long. They all denied it when they actually smashed the electoral furniture, crashing and cashing out the quiet. It was an adventure. And later, when they were all indentured serfs, they'd learned what it was worth. They spread the votes out on the ground, denounced the results as unsound, scattered across the floor. They wondered what it was all bothered for. Their guy, he sung the loudest. Their champion was the proudest. He didn't wait modest at the gate. He rushed the referee, demanded to see what he said or be damned and be dead. I need 11,780 votes. And that was the number they put in the notes. The mad delusion amid the confusion of false facts, they all but compelled the propelled attack. Democracy was by then, hardly even a snack. Sure, their guy was out of tune, but in fact, he was the loudest in the room. He wanted it all, demanded they crawl. They obeyed. They were afraid. His song went boom with a worthless and wasteless, distasteful color of doom, splashed about the room, and they ransacked the sacred places, pushed aside any traces of doubt or any other choices, their voices, unneeded, they repeated. Order that democracy be smashed. They had the cash in hand, bashed the face, pushed aside and sprayed with bright orange mace. Bullies beat it with their clubs, collide. They racked it with pain, the brutal shove and slide. The ruddy stain marred the rug again. Such was their sinning win. They said of democracy, its steps were unsteady. Beside, they said the murderous charge and the enlarged mob was ready. And they went straight and sure, undoubted from the powder of power endures. Unclouded. No wonder they were in such a hurry to bury democracy. They didn't take the time to listen or worry, to hear the voices when they chimed in unison. What were they doing, son? The ancient, sacred, divine right of kings, is that their thing? Or just another cash-hungry mercenary mob that's there to rob? Enough of a job. Will democracy fall after all? Ben, you'll remember, warned, a republic, if you can keep it, it bears repeating. Ben warned, a republic, if you can keep it, bears repeating. And my dear, dear beloved friends, I want to remind you, I know you know this, but I think it bears reminding, this is a tribute to the brave women of Pussy Riot. Pussy Riot. If you ever had any doubt the nerve of this or any sort of girl, leave the trials of home birth alone or the strain of the 2 a.m. babe unknown. I will praise the stuff of them who without Barbie, without Ken, they took them to a church to storm, bring down 10,000 awful, lawful kinds of harm, cock a snoot at Mr. P, who grinds his enemies behind the tree with his special, hideous, pitiless brand of poisonous glee. They took them to the church to denounce the wrongs emerged that any fool knew to say was doomed, and now tuned, groomed to a feisty song about the wrongs. Congregations genuflect, black robes brag, golden epaulets reflect, freedom's phantoms gone to heaven, gay prides chained and in detention. There, they stormed inside the church, unprotected by the breast that nurtured babies, crazed the holy fools. Who would scream at Pootie's gruesome, dangerous tools? Pootie's palace guards will know as he bares his teeth and grinds, eating so the ground is littered with his dead. Did you see what those brave girls said? They aren't worried at the poisonous knob. They demanded freedom. That's their job. Does your vagina have a brand? Let your vagina start a band. Is your vagina lands in prison? Then maybe the world will listen. My vagina's tough and dangerous, shaking up the major labels. Vagina gonna take the stage, because vagina's got a lot to say. Those brave frails with guitars and voice, They see no need of merchant noise. They shook their fists and sanely, bravely, refrainedly mocked where once upon these shores were only NATO stock, bearing no armor but their hearts, what these brave ladies dared to start. Don't play stupid, don't play dumb. Vagina's where you really from. Where are you from? Where are you from? Vagina's where you really from. Don't play stupid, don't play dumb. Vagina's where you really from. Where are you from? Where are you from? Vagina's where you really from. When armies threatened and missiles posed, these soulful women put on shows. So bravely shall taught these women find all the generals and Pootie's spry craft cannot find. We saw the masked marauder girls, no fake up, makeup, blistered curls, stand up like that single man to tank in bloody Tiananmen where the corpses stank. You're electrocuting my nerve, I don't trust you today. Police baton on my ribs, I'm singing with blood today. Through masks, they denounced the dangerous fools, pronounced those who tortured polonium poisoned prison rules. Enough, they shouted. They braved the cage, fought them for their freedom from out their stage. Oh man, I'm losing focus, but JJ on hocus pocus. Don't act like you don't notice. Girls run it like the US Open. Disguise the prize. They're closing in those gruesome gacks, these bloody jacks. They need a win. They've threw out, they've committed every heinous brainless sin. The church yet welcomes Pootie in, dragging those 20 plenty breeding, needing corpses by the skin. Compromat these fellow travelers. Where will they need the extra crucifixes under the ravels? Aliokina, arrested 7 times, unburied yet. She served her time, brave right there in Pootie's face. Declined to resign, she stands in place. Instead, they stood and sang so bravely, sagely grace. Aliokina, teach your jotters her name, with brave Malala, who it seems only wanted to scroll girls' dreams. These outrageous, dangerous women no longer used like tools of fools. Aliokina, delivery girl, stepped out, disguised, took on the world. Such jewels, no longer needed, heated, masking, retreated task, triumphed at last. She bravely gave bloody Putin a beating, though all the forces aligned, freedom conceding. Against him, needling those brave young girls tried to convince him, then in victorious song just rinsed him. Took to the stage in glorious rage to lead their fellow Russians on to freedom's page. Putin is lighting the fires of revolution. He's bored and scared of sharing silence with the people. With every execution, the stench of rotting ash. With every long sentence, a wet dream. She has migrated across the border of disorder and of meaning to reconnoiter, disguised as a free European human being. Will we join her in the voyage back to human rights, away from merchants, purchase, spoilage? Pussy Riot, vanguard of the future.
Speechless. Oh my gosh, your energy, everything, just so well done. Very imaginative and takes us there. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Now we have Finn Hall.
Okay, hey, thanks for squeezing me in here.
Sure.
We're really quick here. You've seen this one already on YouTube today. I wrote it this morning. The first 2 lines came in my head last night, and I worked on it in my sleep, shall we say. And I wrote it this afternoon, and it's called America. There's blood on the streets. Now there's blood on the sheets as the redundant coat hangers come out of their closets. Been lurking away for so long. 50 years without tears. 50 years without worry that your life is in danger. 50 years without a backstreet stranger in dimly lit rooms being your only answer. Now women's rights, human rights are secondary to power, and that's not right. And the cry of white middle-class males should not be heard, as it's absurd that 2/5 don't fit that category. The decision makers, the democracy haters, the common denominator in this hour is power. Control in the name of freedom. Control in the name of uncaring, as if all babies are born of love and intimate sharing. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shores. These words mean nothing anymore. And the woman who wrote it is spinning in her grave, I believe. As the fools that rule think of nothing but themselves and are looking through the books on their shelves to see what other laws their egos can overrule. Now, the abuse of women and children and the weak and the poor, the huddled masses yearning to be free, are secondary, as this woman's rights to choose, to even discuss with those that care, those that share their lives. Now, all they are is red-dressed wives being told what to do with their wombs, as the wealthy can covertly fly to other countries and privately pay for their needs, while the rest must stay and secretly find the backstreet room to bleed and hopefully survive, unless the legal concealed gun in the hands of the scared right-wing cowards decide this forlorn wife is a threat to his life. Thank you. That's all
Wow,
I.
Finn, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Just so powerful and so clear. Very well said. Thank you, Finn.
That's all I can do. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
Back to work now.
Okay, well, be safe.
Yeah.
Now we have Agata Palmer. Did I say that correctly? Mm.
Yes, thank you, Amy. Good evening, everyone. Can you remind me how many minutes I have, please?
3 to 5.
3 to 5 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the poetry, everyone. It's just amazing. I'm blown away. And instead of what I was going to read, I very quickly dug out something else, which is, would you mind stopping recording because it's not published and it's work in progress? Thank you, Amy.
Now we have Lesley Constable.
Hello. Hi. Yeah, I have not been paying attention to the news, and I just learned tonight that Roe v. Wade was overturned, and it was my generation of women, including me, who fought for that. And I'm shocked, but we're strong. The human race is strong and will prevail. It'll be all right, I think. So I'd already selected this to read and realized now that it was one I needed to read. And essentially, it's a poem about the integrity of choice, perhaps. It's called The Door. Where the thread begins is where you follow. The thread, the skein of yarn, the color, the urgency of form, seductive as a question, as thought, idea, the choice to be picked up or simply pondered, or to be let go. If curious by color, seduced by thought or adventure, to let it lay where it is, the idea of it, and walk away. Is there as possibility? But can you? There at the door, the portal, what causes you to know where it is, where this you will go, and that you have a choice? In the about to moment, before you take it into yourself, take into the yours of you, something that is not yours, and in that moment, not quite discerning the delicacy of the moment, not quite realizing the fit or not fit with yourness or not yourness of what it is you have or will take into you, or the degree of what you have taken into you. Do you then swallow or spit? Once an older woman said to me, in this world, there are two types of women, one who swallows and one who spits. Yet with this another question, there are always the questions that if you spit, if you have caught it in time, the about to change part, to not have taken in sufficiently the essence of another that would change you. You realize you do not want, you cannot take in or absorb and remain the you before the time spent at the door, the juncture of change, and with that, continue on as you. And I've got one more. This one's called Skip the Chain. Skip the chain, it does not hold you. No binding agreement, no bounds, the thicket always there waiting to snatch you, the brambles clutching. If you go down into it, if you allow, the labyrinth is there and it will have you. To put one foot, one thought in the direction of the taken, the snatched ones. If you throw out one crumb, one infinitesimal crumb that is visible to the eye that watches, the raven calls to you, calls to the others, those, the brethren, the dark brethren who circle, aligned and in formation to swoop down on you, for you, wings overspread. Excuse me just one second. I sort of lost it. Hang on. This is the cycle, just part of it, just part. There are other parts and there are others, those who watch, carrion crows all. Imagine their overstretched wings as your canopy, high above you, shielding you from the shards of overripe sun, hovering above you there on the gleaming throne on which you were placed. And remember the crown part. Remember that you've got one and you are wearing it always. So that's it for me. Thanks all.
That was breathtaking as usual. I love the way you flow and it's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, anyone else like to read? Greg? Want to read?
Sure, I'll read.
Okay.
Got in late and I'm always doing chores and stuff while I'm watching. So that's why I have my video off. I'm like eating lunch and doing the dishes and all these things. One that I'm going to read called Life in the Hypothetical. This hypothetical life, what if I was this person? Who would you be then? What if you and I agreed? What if we just pretend? What if I made it all up? What if you did too? What if everyone could make their own world? What if this is exactly what we all do? What if instead of making your mind up, it's your mind that's making up you? Up yours and up mine. What if this is what our minds are meant to do? To make things up and to be made up? What if free will is not a choice? What if you've made yourself a slave to your own mastery? What if there is no winning the game that is played? What if one speaks in volumes, even while losing their voice? What if there are millions of worlds? What if they are only one, being seen in billions of ways? What if you could have anything you want? If you did, would you have anything bad or good to say? Would the silence grow old outside of time? Would it make you love and long for the cacophony of days? If it were all swirling inside you so much, what would you seek to create? Something more quiet and empty, perhaps? Something more or less like an expanding and infinite space? Would you write a story of hatred? If you knew you were to be both the master and the slave, if you were fully alive in the story, if you had to feel it fully both ways? Would you ever want to wake up if you knew it meant to see this vision stay? Would you only seek to dream that dream of making up and being made? Would you seek to sleep hoping the dream of freedom will somehow come to you? Rather than waking up to seeing that you have chosen yourself not to be saved? Knowing it was only ever you that came to see things this way? What if silence sounds very much like all the things I have had to say? What if the choice is yours to have courage complete or to only be ever afraid? Would you anticipate the fear that you might choose then in your boredom to make? Would it excite the malaise in some way? Would you have to forget to one degree or another that both courage and fear are so fake? That you were made of making up? That everyone is one and the same? Hypothetically speaking, of course. But wouldn't that be great? Without winning or losing, without the conqueror or the saved, without a limit to the time or rules to define the space, with no point to score or penalty to be taken away, what if? Like a child or sage in the olden days, using your imagination, maybe the method and the point of every pageant and every play. What if we shouldn't mix all the colors so carelessly into such endless shades of gray? What if the separation in the midst of unity is the way all the masters make life appear out of paint? It's life in the hypothetical.
That was brilliant. So thought-provoking, philosophical, wonderful questions. Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we have Cathy Carson.
Cathy.
Hi, it's good to hear you, everyone. Yeah, such a lot of emotion and righteous emotion in the room tonight. So I'm just going to do one that talks about looking after each other. So this little poem is called Equation. Today you will send me a message. You'll ask me how I am, and I'll tell you I'm fine. I won't say that I think I'm being bullied at work. But honestly, it's so insidious, so subtle that really I'm not sure. Is she being mean or am I losing my mind? I won't say that I'm completely estranged from my family, that their treatment of me is so toxic, so destructive that it's safer for me not to have them in my life. But every Christmas, Easter, birthday, you give me any damn day when families do what families do. And it feels like alcohol and 1,000 paper cuts. I won't say that even though I'm content with my child-free life, I have the freedom to do what I want when I want, but sometimes the laughter from a child in a supermarket queue, it still makes my arms feel empty. I won't say that 2020, as a nurse, I held too much grief down the phone line. I passed on too many messages to the dying. Please tell them they were the best mother, father, brother, sister, son, daughter, friend in the world. Nurse, can you please just tell them I'll always love them? See, those words had weight that sank to the soles of my feet. So now every step I take feels like quicksand. And I won't say that the Sarah Everard story almost broke me. That I couldn't listen to another person say, reclaim the night, because it happened to me in broad daylight. And the eldest of the group who attacked me was 16, so yes, please, educate your boys. I won't say that in the year that followed, I lost every hair on my head. I lost my sense of safety. I lost myself. I lost the ability to speak in full sentences all over again. Or that this whole journey, this stepping up white knuckle to a mic has been about me speaking up for all the times when I have been silent. Today, I will send you a message. And I will ask you how you are, and you will tell me you are fine. And yes, I get it. See, I understand the need for walls. If the wall falls down, the roof falls down. We're all terrified that others will take a look at the rubble on the ground and walk away. But if I have sent you a message, if I've taken that time, it's because all day long you have been on my mind, and every time I say your name out loud, my heartbeat quickens. So you say, I already know that something isn't quite right. So let's get real. Because I've already lost 5 people to suicide. I don't know how many you've lost, but one more is one too many. And we need to find a better way to talk to each other. We need to have more honest conversations. See, I'm suggesting that good communication is just an equation where A is what happened, B is the impact, and C is what you need. Because it really is okay to ask for what you need. And I'll go first. A, there's nothing really bad has happened. There's nothing that I can put my finger on. In fact, from the outside looking in, everything looks the same. But B, I have been crying for days. Sometimes it's hard to put one foot in front of the other, and some days, something as simple as brushing my teeth overwhelms me. See, I think I just needed to say that out loud. It's your turn now, and everyone's listening. Thanks, Amy.
Oh my gosh, Cathy. Beautiful, brilliant, brutal, awesome, all the things. Thank you for being here. Oh my gosh, thank you. We have someone who's just joined us. Black Widow is going to join us. Thank you.
Hey y'all, how is everyone? I'm so happy to be here.
So glad you're here.
I miss you.
Miss you
I had
too.
to work, sorry I'm late. How many pieces? Just one?
Like 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay,
It's like 1 or 2 small ones or a long one.
got it. I'll do
Okay.
2.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so for everyone that doesn't know, I'm Gina Carillo, aka Black Widow. I'm a spoken word artist from Franklin, Tennessee. I also created the Prodigal Poets. We're a poetry crew and we perform in Nashville and surrounding cities. This first piece I'm going to do is called Disturbed. It's about Frankenstein and also how I relate to him with what I went through beating stage 3 breast cancer. Disturbed. Silent raindrops fell like tears outside the castle. I'm aching for you. Whisper away my anxieties. Imagine hearing you in my head. Darkness consumes, fire burning, foggy fumes, thoughts of a better life cracking through my skin. Experiences I want to have more. They're talking about me, town people knocking at the door, not understanding my needs aren't that demanding. Looking on to broader horizons, people try to kill what they do not know, also try to bring back alive something that had already died. Don't create me, make me feel so real, then turn your scared head. I'm undaunted. I wasn't the one that wanted to be brought back, haunted. Not like this. Now they wonder about how I act. This isn't what I thought. Can't blame me for how I react. Your experiment was unsuccessfully simulated, still some unconscious flesh not stimulated. This operation not quite like the illustration. Raised from the dead, there are crevices in my soul that can't be sealed with a kiss. Mended memories of my past remain. This new life is just not right. What others experience is just not the same. Raised up with the tragic lightning, my appearance now very frightening. Who could love such sorrow creatures with bloody, messy features, just painfully stitched together? Is there someone out there like me? Finding them would calm my fears. Wishing with these franken tears, just hoping and dreaming. Sometimes I'm concerned, will I ever really learn? I'm just a zombie walking, limping to the side, still talking about this strange new world. Inside, internally perturbed, unsettled, and just disturbed. Thank you. Thank you all so much. This next piece I have for you is called Bewitch, and it's a magical, motivational, empowering piece I wrote, but it's also kind of witchy and dark. Bewitched. Fear not the witches, but those that burn them alive. Jealous of them taking power from the earth without poisoning the soil. More entertaining being the magical enchantress than the helpless princess who couldn't toil. Although alone, talking to animals, widowed with no children. However, embodied with the power of a sorceress. Call me a necromancer, watch me sparkle outside with pride. Curious on how I dress. It's the true me, not to impress. The words I write, wanting to gain some insight, asking me if I might be a complex hex, left you perplexed. They tried to drown us while worshiping God will not be put down. Head held high with a flower crown, dancing under the pale moonlight with those that fill my heart. Tribe consistently giving me the breath to keep on. Can you hear this enchanting song? Insides formed from the sands, melted together from when I was scorched at the stake, from those that wanted to take bewitched wounds sewn together with black thread. She-devil stitch made a new life for myself while embracing haunting nightmares. Will you wake up scared of what you did? It will not be hid. Come for me again. Hear sounds of a screaming woman that can't be submerged. Shadows cast of the southern skinwalkers from the woods emerge. Just misunderstood. Moonlights of those eyes, glow in the dark battle axe, arrows of defense. It all makes sense. What a sight to be seen. From the darkness emerges the queen. Let those real lies inside the past storybooks all have lies. This world is full of monsters with friendly, judgmental faces that go to church on Sundays. And there are colorful haired angels with tattoos and scars, wearing eclectic clothes, gravitating close to those. This may be the day that you learn I'm the descendant of the witch you weren't able to burn. Thank you all so much.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today. So
I'm so
dramatic,
happy.
so powerful,
Thank
wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you all. For those of you not following me, please do at Black Widow Poet on Instagram, Black Widow Poetry on Facebook, also Prodigal Poets on both Instagram and Facebook. I also have a book out, Kaleidoscope, that's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Thank y'all.
Thank
Love you.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Love you too. Thank you. Oh. Well, now I believe I can read a couple, if that's okay. Okay. I'm pulling one out from earlier in the spring that was published in March by Alien Buddha Press, and it's called Underdogs. Maybe I won't erupt, said Kilauea. I thought so, said Alice. Symbol of the overwhelmed, face in hands, people of color, women, girls disappearing. What we have in common, being the underdogs. I always root for the underdog. It's my nature and a particular way of perceiving history. It burgles the truth otherwise. You accuse us of doing everything you commit. Gaslighting muddies the debate, blurs the truth in an evil mirror, shakes the house when you drive by, moves the glitter from room to room. My face pulls down with gravity, the blues. It's only natural. Ghosts are helpful guides through the morass. Juliet says hi, regretting her decisions. John Lewis says hello, regretting nothing. Persephone is back from her dark trespass, bringing the womb of potentiality. I learned to stand in my own over time. I paint on my cast every day like Frida. Keep me safe, trapped in a body I can't control, but forever soothe. Spa time for my spirit, my wounded soul, betrayed in love early on. I'm learning to love me. Chris Rock says, play the tambourine if that's your thing. I have to shake it out, my truth, till the water runs clear and I'm at peace. Just a toy to you all. You held me the wrong way. Evicted me from your heart, my hometown, an exile with a trail of dear teachers, friends who helped me walk on. We're still connected through time. Maybe I won't erupt today, I said. I thought so, said Alice. She never roots for the underdogs. We can't help the buildup inside us. Years of intolerance has an effect on us empaths. Fetting rage here and there is kind of all we've got. There is so little justice. Thank you so much. I'm gonna read one more because I know it's getting kind of late. This one's called Disrupted Shamans, and it's published online with Anvil Tongue Press in July. and it's a positive one. Ineluctable bird song, knotted tongues sing and repeat. A chimney swift found its way into our sunroom, holding onto the windowsill, wings curved into a V, hid behind the desk. We helped him out the front door, and he flew well away. Something wild escaped safely out. In the hummingbird family, the swifts chirp and tweet above us in early and late hours of the day, eating bugs aloft. Like little fighter pilots, they twist and play in the air. Now we see them up close, like a spirit animal visiting in a dream. Creating, breathing slowly through a muddy wall, patterns, eschers, loops that catch my wings. Stop, untangle, breathe, create, fly through this glass to reach the sky. Molting, shedding, letting drop, gravity pulling down, things I no longer need. Every day, night, myself sheds old souls, long gone, in order to fly. Doing child's pose, the floor holds me up. I remember to breathe deeply again, soul to soul. We shiver, it's so close. The engine is you, disrupted shamans all. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, gosh, we need to close her up. Thank you guys so much. I've had a wonderful time. So much talent in the room tonight. It's amazing. Just a stellar
you,
time.
Amy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful evening.
Thank you, Rhoda.
Thank you, Amy. It's been brilliant as per usual. Looking forward to the next one. Awesome.
Oh,
Love
thank
your last one
you.
as well. Brilliant. Thanks.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you. Amazing evening. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Rhoda.
Great night. Really enjoyed it.
Great to see so
Good.
many people. Lovely.
I
Yeah,
agree.
good to see you, Rhoda, and great to hear you again. Really great.
Well
Thank
done,
you.
everyone.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Brilliant,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Great night.
Good
Hope to
night.
see you all again soon. for
Yes.
sure.
Have a blessed evening, everyone.
And I take care, everyone. Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.